Greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome to another heroic week of Siege of the Empire, where I, your host, Mankey Games, a.k.a. Jordan. I don't know why I do that. I always say my real name next. Jordan, a.k.a. Mankey Games on the internet. There we go. We did it. Intro 1 is a success. Take you on a grand adventure as a GM through the amazing world of Warhammer Fantasy, as seen through the eyes of Dungeons & Dragons, and, of course, my lovely players. Hello, everyone. Hope you've been well. Glad to be back. A little bit of bookkeeping for just a quick moment. If you're watching this on Twitch, welcome. Glad you could be here. Always a fan of my my live viewers. However, I want to give a special shout out to all of my YouTube viewers as well. I have had a significant influx of people actually interested, so thank you. Appreciate that. It's just a shout out for you guys, the real MVPs. The fact that fans enjoy this is one of the primary reasons that we keep going. It truly is. Besides the fact that I enjoy the hell out of this. So, let's see if the players enjoy the hell out of this too.
Actually, really horrible.
So why are you sharing it?
Because it's fun. So I was, this was back when I was in junior high. I went to a Catholic school, like I believe I said before.
Should I mute myself while Jackson tells some story?
This is alright. This is clean. So basically, we were at church because it was Wednesday, you know, the day of the Lord, and
yeah, of course.
Yeah, you pray to him on hump days. So we were there, and my eye had been bothering me for a while. And finally, I looked up and I looked at the light coming through the stained glass, and I literally went, "Ah!" and just fell over because it felt like something had stabbed me in the fucking eye.
The light.
And I fell down. They escorted me out, and then they took me to doctors. I had an ulcer in my eye.
Ooh.
That had literally been eating my eye.
That's
why. And they removed it in time, but that's why, if you look at my eyes, one of them's actually lighter than the other because it ate some of my pigment.
Well, that's amusing. What the hell are you doing, cats?
But no, that was the second time something had happened during something religious, so I got called Devil Child again for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
when I fell out of a car in high school, they called me head trauma for a while. I don't know if that's related, but that's the story I told.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hey.
Wait.
To reiterate, you haven't told a story, Jordan, which you need to know.
Liam was here. Did he actually leave?
He said be right back.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was just, like, making a joke that you were going to tell a weird story, so he was just going to mute himself, but... Okay.
Not weird.
We will start with introductions. Welcome, everybody. Glad you all could be here. I don't know of anybody who's not going to be here, so that's good. It's good stuff. I like not having to wonder whether or not my players are going to play today. And speaking of those players, Dalton, tell us all about your week.
My week has been aggravating. Not as painful as the last couple of weeks, but one of my bosses decided to say me about I don't know, Tuesday night, that I, along with two other associates, during the nights that we work on Pacific nights, which we've deemed dark nights, which is nights we don't have freight, live freight from trucks, that we have been doing nothing, literally the word nothing, of work for a week. May have gotten lippy with her. May have pissed her off. We'll see how that goes. So,
I mean,
fun times.
You probably haven't been doing anything, to be honest.
I mean, there's a lot of things to do.
I'm just kidding. I've been there for sure.
It's one thing to say, okay, you're not doing enough. It's another thing to say you're doing nothing. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, were there any suggestions as to what you guys could do?
Yeah, but she's just a big old cunt. So.
Okay. All right. I mean, I
Like-
can see that. That makes sense.
The entire time she's been there, she is, I'm pretty sure, has tried to have sex with like 18-year-olds and things like that. And she's like 57. She's not of the goodest of kind people.
I mean, that seems legal.
Yeah.
It'd be more of like,
Like creepy, come on.
yeah, creepy, come on, type
Yeah.
of thing.
I mean, hey.
Like
Not-
subtly implying you're gonna lose your job if this don't happen.
That's beyond
Yeah.
creepy. I think that is actually illegal.
Something like that. It's, I mean, you look at her and you're like, why did the Oompa Loompas let you out? But that's not the point. So.
It's good. It's good. Fantastic. Jackson, how's your week been?
It's been the beginning of it not great. I don't want to talk about, but because I had a drug test done the other day.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's very awkward. People saw my junk.
Yep. That's typically what
So-
happens in a drug test.
Yeah, dick out, everybody looking.
Yep. That's
Anyways.
typically how it goes.
And then the other day, Wednesday, as you guys know, I heard a siren, and I thought it was the nuclear siren at first, but it turns out to be a tornado, and they made us leave
Indeed.
twice.
Indeed.
Yeah, thankfully, it wasn't the nuclear one, though.
I'm glad you're not in Little Rock.
What happened in Little Rock?
You mentioned on Wednesday that if it was the nuclear one, you would have to.
Oh,
go to Little
yeah,
Rock.
that. Yeah, that's right.
So
I was confused by that.
it's okay. It's okay. Will, tell us all about your week, sir, and how it's been and how it's going.
It's been alright. So it was obviously my birthday on Saturday.
Hooray! Happy birthday!
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Again, I meant to say it last week because Skype did remind me, but then I forgot. So sorry.
'Cause you don't love me.
This
never
is
told
this
us.
is a true statement.
I would have remembered.
But yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
my week's been alright. Yeah, not much else has really happened in my really exciting life, obviously.
Nothing with the royal
Yeah,
family.
I've determined that being royalty is actually kind of boring based on what you've told me. So I have no further aspirations.
You know, when you've grown up with it all your life, it just becomes a chore more than anything.
Yeah, I can make that. I can understand that for sure. Brian, hello, can you hear us?
Yes,
That is good. What are you
I
eating,
can.
sir?
I have a ham and cheese hot pocket.
That's
I haven't
good.
had one in years, and it is amazing.
That's good. How has your week been? What have you been up to?
Dying.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
no,
Yeah.
Too much Mass Effect. Not enough Mass Effect at the same time.
Yeah. Concur.
Vanquisher is the most broken gun in the game.
Which one is that?
It's the really, really cool looking sniper rifle.
Oh, okay. Because the Remnant Assault Rifle, I forget what it's called, the one that fires a 3-round burst, is, in my opinion, the most broken gun in the game because it basically is this 3-round burst sniper rifle that can also just melt things. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We should compare notes sometime.
Yeah.
Megan, hi, hello.
Hi. Excuse me. I'm losing my voice a little bit, so
Yay, it's Frog Megan.
sorry.
No.
Just
What
from-
is that thing?
I know, I'm sorry.
What's this?
Just from the event yesterday, apparently it was loud. And so
Apparently you were also loud. No. Okay. Yeah, great. Awesome. Anything else, Megan, that you've done over the course of the week?
I think we lost her.
Oh, there she goes. Okay, well, Liam, that's your...
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Can
now.
me?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Hello.
Sorry, I don't know.
No,
Leave it
I
for a
asked
second.
how everything else went with your week, because I know you took a test this week, right?
Oh yeah. Last weekend I took my comps exam to graduate with my master's, and I have yet to hear about it. It's like 6
I was hoping.
weeks I have to wait. No.
Oh, I was hoping it would be soon, but
Oh,
apparently
geez.
not.
No, it's really shitty. I have to wait like a month before they tell me.
Oh, that's
Yeah. Yes.
What?
Jackson?
oh, that's cool because I actually graduate in about a month.
Oh, congratulations, Jackson.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Round of applause for Jackson. Okay, that's enough.
And then my fundraiser was yesterday, which was great. We had like 250 people show up, and then the fire alarm went off. So that was good. Then we had to evacuate 250 people.
What you mean to
and-
say is somebody pulled the fire alarm to mess with the
No.
250 people inside.
No, it was a stupid vent fan or something that made the sensor go off. I still don't understand what happened, but
As I
That
deal
was
with this
fun.
on a regular basis, I can believe that. It's probably dusty up there.
yeah, I mean it is a school, so
Man,
you know.
I hate watches.
Yeah.
And warnings and watches.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That was a little stressful, but it worked out fine, so we're good.
Well, great. Sounds like you've had a great week. Liam, hi, hello.
Howdy.
How are you doing, sir? Tell us all about your week and what's going on in the great nation of Canada.
You can tell it's spring because it looks like it's snowing, but it feels like rain.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm on board.
Delightful.
I'm waiting to hear back on another job application, this time for a job I actually want.
That's
but
good.
no word yet.
Well, I will. I'm me, and I'm sure the 10 people that watch the show on YouTube will cross our fingers for you.
Now, is
Awesome.
that including the cast or not?
Yes, that includes the cast.
Okay.
And that one asshole who keeps clicking on the videos too many times.
Yeah, whoever that is, can you please stop that? I mean, YouTube's bad enough as it is. Which brings me to my week has been filled with annoyances. Apparently, Google AdSense is a finicky mistress, and they flagged my account for me clicking on too many ads because I posted my videos to Twitter through the automated service that YouTube provides too many times because I uploaded 24 videos, so they assumed that I was trying to maliciously forge ad revenue clicks on my channel for a grand total of 68 cents, and so they decided to ban and suspend my account for 30 days so it could go under review, including removing my YouTube partnership for that amount of time. By the way, with no appeal process whatsoever.
That all sounds dumb.
So yeah, no, I
Now,
was
Brian, say it sounds dumb.
I was pretty annoyed with that. Today was actually my significant other's final day at her current job. And yeah,
Yay.
and so in 10 days she will be starting her new job in Virginia. And then obviously, I using air quotes, you just can't see them. Shortly after that, I will be joining her up there.
Exciting.
Yeah, in the DC area, which is literally my favorite place in the whole wide world. I absolutely love Washington, DC. It is by far the best big city that I've ever lived in, and am super excited to be in such close proximity to it. And that may sound weird to some of you, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, I just don't big cities.
I've been there the once. It seemed nice enough.
Yeah, I lived there. I lived there on a military deployment for a whole year, so yeah, it was great. I love that place. So I'm excited to be up there soon enough, which brings me to my second annoyance, which is today I went in to finalize some paperwork with the leasing office to find out that apparently when I renewed my lease, because I went in to give them a 60-day notice, like you do, right? Because my lease is supposed to expire in June, the end of June, yeah. Or I guess technically that would be, 90 days notice, whatever. I went in to give them notice that I wasn't going to be renewing my lease. Come to find out that apparently, and again, I'm going to take fault for this. It is partially my fault for being naive and stupid. So I'm going to preface that. But then I'm going to say that apparently, when I renewed my lease, I only renewed for 10 months instead of 12 months. So then I found out my actual move-out date was May 12th, which obviously doesn't work with the timeline that I have in mind. So I got very upset, and what it breaks down to is now I'm going to end up paying a lot of extra money to stay here because they're going to have to charge me a month-to-month rate, as opposed to just extending my lease like they could have done if they were nice. But they're not, apparently. Apparently, 5 years of never being late on a payment, always being a good tenant, reporting everything that needs to be reported just means nothing anymore.
Taking in low kitties, you know.
Also, after that, I may have said it really feels like I'm getting fucked in the asshole really loudly in the lobby with all of the other new tenants getting ready to move in. So I probably burned that bridge. That was a bridge that probably got burned really hardcore.
But here's the real question.
But I felt better after I said it, so...
I'm sure it was a bridge needed to be burned.
Yeah. I basically called them all a bunch of swindlers and told them it feels like I'm getting fucked in my asshole really loudly in the lobby. Because, yes, again, I'm going to preface it with, I didn't read the thing that I signed completely thoroughly, or I didn't realize that I wasn't getting signed up for what I assume the past 4 years, where, like, the 4 other times that I had renewed my lease, right? Where they just put another 12 months on, and then I just paid whatever the new rate was, right? Apparently, they were like, nah, he's had 12 months for, like, 4 years now. We're only going to give him 10 months for the 5th year. So...
yeah.
It seems a bit shady to me, because then they actually could charge me more, because my rent also went up a significant amount last time, because of changes in what they'd done around the property, or so I assumed. But it was probably because they signed me up for a 10-month lease as opposed to a 12-month lease. What are you going to do, I guess? I mean, I can't really do anything about, like...
Your signature's on the paper.
Yeah, again, yeah, my signature and initials are on the paper that says I'm supposed to move out May 12th. So I can't really do much about it, but I went in there and I was nice at first, and they're like, okay, well, we'll review it and we'll look into it. And I sat there for about 20 minutes while the manager reviewed it for them to come out and tell me, no, sorry, we can't do anything. And I was like, oh, okay, so now we're going to play this game. So that was super annoying. Basically, I'm still going to be here for that amount of time, but I'll just have to pay, like, it's like an extra $100 for my May rent, and then an extra, like, $200 for the June rent right before I move out.
Those cock knuckles.
Yeah, so that's a good insult. I'm going to use that. So yeah, that was my annoyance today. But other than that, I finished Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, before I go on a 15-minute rant about it, I'll refrain from doing that.
All right, BRB.
Yeah. I will say that once I got to the point where it was like the ending, I found myself unable to go do all of the other little tiny side missions to get that 100% run, because I knew that I could go back and do them after the final mission. So I have mostly everything completed in that game, with the exception of a few minor details. Which is cool. Whatever. I will say, based on Brian's estimate last week, where he made the claim that it is basically as good as Mass Effect 2's ending, I can agree with that. It was definitely... And it's weird for Brian to say that, because we actually had a conversation about this today, a brief one, about, like, how his ending was. And his ending was far inferior to the ending that I received, because you rushed through the game, right? Like, you basically did all of the main storyline missions, and then went to another playthrough, right?
Yeah, I basically just did anything necessary, and anything I didn't have to, I kind of just passed over.
Right. So me, I completed a lot of the game prior to actually beating it, and I agree in the fact that the ending feels just as epic and amazing as Mass Effect 2's does, for sure.
Which is good.
I got
Yeah,
that was taken away from me, so I don't know how that ended.
there is you guys know that I am a very harsh critic on narrative and story elements. I've talked about this before with lots of other media.
No.
I haven't noticed.
And I am no professional. I'm not a published author. I am just one who consumes a lot of narrative, and also is an amateur writer of it, right? That's basically what led me into GMing. And I will say that the complaints about the writing in that game don't make sense to me. I don't understand what people were expecting. And I think
they were
that
expecting to play Shepard.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree with. I think that is mostly how it was. A lot of people went into that game with rose-tinted goggles, and couldn't see that it was a quintessential start to a trilogy. Like there wasn't like it wasn't Mass Effect 4, and I think a lot of people were running Mass Effect 4, and so basically they just found the things to gripe on about the game. Sure, the facial animation is hilariously bad at times. I agree with that.
It's always been, though, in my opinion.
But I would dare somebody to show me a game that is leaps and bounds beyond what that was. Because I don't think they could do it. I don't think that they could find me a game that is like, oh my god, you have to look at the facial animation in this game. It's so incredibly good. I haven't seen a game where people are like, oh yeah, the facial animation in the game is great. Oh my god, it's so good. That doesn't happen. People don't say that about games. So I think people were just nitpicking on it for no reason, and it started the cult mob. I still think that the game is a solid 8 out of 10. Which means to me, just for clarification, an 8 out of 10 is a game that I would pay full price for. I would probably pay full price for a game 7 out of 10 or higher. And that game solidly reaches at least an 8.
And have you tried the multiplayer yet?
I have not even touched the multiplayer yet.
That's a good rating.
Multiplayer is really good.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with the people. I think people giving it 7 out of 10s are justified. But I do not think people giving it 0s or 1s or 3s. I don't think they know what a 3 out of 10 video game is. If they're trying to give Mass Effect Andromeda a 3 out of 10.
That's
they
ride to hell level.
Yeah, they don't understand how ratings actually work. I would say that the bare minimum that anyone should ever rate that game is a 7. And that's the 1 point... I always give 1 point error for justification for deviance, right? For personal preference. I personally preferred the game a lot, and so I give it an 8. So. And that's it. Incorrect, Megan. That is an incorrect assessment. 6.5 out of 10 is not a true statement. But for anyone on the fence about it, I would 100% recommend getting it.
Solid 5 out of 7.
Yes, solid 5 out of 7.
Let's just be real. That's the only rating.
Yeah, I think if anyone is on the fence about it, and my opinion matters to you, even in the slightest modicum of opinions, get it. 100%. You will enjoy yourself. I am probably going to wait a few days and then start a second playthrough with FemWriter to try and get that 100% prior to doing the final mission run.
So you told me Cora's the way to go.
Yeah.
That's what I asked.
So Cora, the romance with Cora is super traditional corny. Like,
that's fine.
A bit over the top corny at times.
No,
like,
no one cares. That's not the reason romance is in Mass Effect.
True.
It's for the fiends.
The culmination scene with Cora is 10 out of 10, A++, best culmination scene that has ever occurred in a video game, to my knowledge. So
M rating video game.
I am correct. Well, anyway, like either way, I think even implication video games, I would say it is 10 out of 10, the best scene that occurs, which makes me excited to see all of the other ones, because obviously I'll be doing all of the other ones at some point throughout my life. So,
Gonna have to do a lot of fucking playthroughs. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah.
There's 7 as female writer, and there's like 6 as male writer.
Yeah, that is. Oh, and that does not include the random ones that you can have. That includes the full-on romances. That does not include the random interactions that you can just basically go screw a whole bunch of other people. I plan on doing a douchebag writer playthrough as male writer and literally just flirting with everything that fucking breathes, just to see what happens.
You have to do one of those.
So
I am totally doing that.
I feel as though that will be the one that I stream. I will probably stream the douchebag writer flirt with literally everybody in existence in Andromeda, and that'll probably be my stream playthrough. So
Sounds good.
yeah. But speaking of getting fucked, you guys were currently on the move. You guys were currently on the move through the battlegrounds, which I'm calling them the battlegrounds because that's literally what I've called them on Roll20. The actual map is called Battlegrounds. So that's what I'm going to call it from now on. But essentially, you were marching with the army. You finally had created enough space and gathered enough information that it was safe for the group of you to move forward and basically pick up the army and move forward. And we had gotten through, I had kind of went into an explanation a little bit of how we were going to do this like campaign map sequence where we were going to go through, we're going to go through finding out what everybody wants to do for their like action, playing out the actions, and then doing social scenes after that, and kind of follow that playthrough. And as we get better and better with it, we'll be able to do 2, 3, 4, depending on what goes on, and eventually be able to progress this much faster. So last time in Siege, we had Farron and Morella, who were traveling with the Knights unit, it's about 100 knights is the contingent of knightly units that you have with you, of various knightly orders, right? There is some of the Knights Griffin, there is some of the Knights of the Red Hand, there's a couple of different knightly orders that are traveling with you. And there's about 100 in total, and that kind of makes up the contingent. And you guys were traveling to Middenstag to kind of clear the way and find out what was going on for the army, because the group had not the group had decided, but I was saying there had been some talk of going and staging in Middenstag because it was a nice, more open area and a little bit easier to defend from a large army. You guys basically wanted to get out of the forest, right? Because it was too easy to become ambushed and have lots of bad problems happen. So, the two of you actually had taken on that job, and it's going to take the 2 actions to get over there because of the distance traveled. But you guys are all on horseback, and you don't have the weight of the carts and supply wagons to bear you down. However, a couple of bad rolls later, you guys had determined that Morella tried to basically kind of influence the knights and failed miserably. To be fortunately saved by Farron. But Farron had also discovered that the rations that the knights had brought, some of it had spoiled. And so you probably would not have enough to get back to the army. So you might have to push on to Middenstag and maybe even purchase or acquisition rations prior to the army arriving or going back to the army. So those were the 2 things that kind of happened there. For the rest of you guys were traveling with the army, and we had a bunch of political discussions with some of the council members and some of Arcadi's contacts. We had made a couple of attempts to organize the hospital, unfortunately not succeeding in that regard. It seems like leading people beyond your single churchly duties may not be Aylin's strong suit. Hannibal had acquired an apprentice who he was kind of positioning to get into the Bright Order, at least become an apprentice and start his training in the Bright Order. And Kree was busy dealing with the kind of fallout of the integration process the lizardmen and the humans and halflings and stuff, and that are currently in the armies, which is an ongoing process. It's going to be a constant kind of battle there. And so at the very end, we had stopped with Farron and Morella were with the knights camped about halfway to Minstag, and the rest of you had kind of put up a temporary camp, circled the wagons just outside the town of Middleweg, just kind of basically in vision of them. You can see like the torches burning of the town from where you're at, but you're not like directly in it, because obviously you can't fit 7,000 soldiers inside of a tiny village. So you guys are kind of on the outskirts of it. So, any questions? Everybody clear? We're good? Excellent. Fantastic. Awesome. So I want to start with Morella and Farron. So last time when you guys had a bit of interaction, there was an instance where Morella made a request of Farron to kind of protect her the whole time, and he had agreed for I'm getting there, Megan. Getting there. It's where I'm going. Okay. In the agreements that Farron would be able to be granted like one boon, right? And during this, there was a question that was asked, which was, what's the history? How did you and Arkady Petrov become a pair? And so I believe that is probably a good time to cue Farron Makaib, Arkady Petrov story time for your origin story.
Farron.
Farron, that means you talk.
Oh God.
Is he dead?
I was not muted. Of course not.
Okay. Good.
The assassins got there too early.
Yeah.
Are we all sitting comfortably, children?
I'm laying down, so give me a minute.
You're not there.
Yeah, no, hold on. Give me a minute. I need to sit up.
You have to be sitting for this, god damn it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Farron, your response, where does our tale begin?
Indeed. Well, as you know, after my father fell on the northern front and my mother passed from illness, I joined Kislev's White Hand Guild. I was just a boy, but they fed me well enough and taught me how to survive in that kind of life. After many years, I made a name for myself, what with my quick hands, silver tongue, and of course my devilishly good looks. There's a certain job.
Do you wink at that moment?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
There was a certain job that came up, and a fairly lucrative one at that. The kind of gold that would have easily let me off to warmer pastures. A new diplomat had an important package and was in town for a few days waiting to hand it over to the Ice Queen's administration. I decided to go fairly well armed. NKR type crossbow, poison darts, oil grenades, that kind of thing. Just in case, I heard from the spotters that he was travelling through some back alleys, and I laid in wait. I tell you, my surprise when I saw this midget in fancy clothing walking through the streets. I thought this would have been one of my easiest marks yet. So I step out in front of him, give him the usual threatening smile, expecting him to fall flat on his ass begging for his life. Then I barely moved my head out of the way. A bolt flew right past my ear, not the slightest bit of hesitation in his eyes. He starts to run. Getting my focus back, I grab the crossbow from my back and chase after him. Obviously, I've set up the slanting area, but goddamn, he's a nimble bastard, leaping over cattle traps and barricades alike. All the while, We both dodging and firing bolts at each other. But then a hit. I got him. I got him in the shoulder. However, as if in one fluid movement, he looks back and fires his crossbow. Shun! Hits me right in the leg. And he darts off around the corner. But I grew up in these streets. I take a shortcut through a house and catch up to him. We fire more rounds at each other. I'm starting to get a bit impatient as I can start to hear the town guards in the distance. He seems to have noticed that and started shouting taunts at me, hoping I'd slip up. But ultimately, I managed to steer him into a dead end. We stare at each other. We're about 100 feet apart. At this point, it's a matter of pride more than anything. He starts running straight towards me. I start running straight towards him. I throw the old grenade right at him, but Mr. Deadeye fires the bolt and hits it mid-air. Fire and oil burst out, almost filling the streets. And then we meet. And I've gotten my crossbow pointed right at his throat. But he has his at mine. Once again, we stare at each other. Both our clothes smoldering in the sudden calm. He opened his mouth. We could probably figure out a more profitable conclusion to this than seeing who would pull the trigger first. And we've been working together ever since.
Clap, clap, clap.
Yay!
Is there a response to that?
Oh, fucking course. Hold on. I had to get myself together for that shit. Rella smiles as she seems to be like looking off in the distance, and she looks back at you. She's like, you know, if any other person were to have said that, I would have called them a liar. But I believe your story completely, Farron. It was delightful and insight to know the relationship that how you and Petrov started.
You want to try and see if he's lying to you?
No.
Oh,
No,
you
it
didn't
is
mean
proven
insight.
insight.
Gotcha. Sorry, I misunderstood.
It's okay.
Oh,
Cool, fantastic. And so with that, we kind of like fade out, and we fast forward to kind of later in the night, where there's a watch being held, and Farron, you probably get woken up. Actually, no, it probably wakes up Morella. Morella, you get woken up kind of like by the shaking of a shoulder, and you see one of the knights kind of standing over you with his visor up, and he's like, "My lady, there's a dark cloud on the horizon. The men are restless. Would you take a look?"
Yeah. It seems like she was like quickly asleep, so like she was like pretty spry on her feet.
Sure.
And she says, "Come, Farron, let's check this."
So you kick Farron awake.
No, it's just simply probably like a simple nudge.
I'm up. I'm slowly
Ah.
just 5 minutes.
We see Farron like sit up, like rubbing eyes, but he's still asleep.
Yeah.
And the men take you over to a small hill, because you guys are kind of at the edge of the forest in the hillside, but a little more into the hills than into the forest. And the men are pointing back to, you can see the forested area, and you can see there's this weird cloud kind of resting over the forest where you came from. Roll me a perception check. Farron, you can as well if you'd like.
Alrighty.
A 19 from Marilla, yeah. 16 is what I wanted, so congratulations. Farron, you're still asleep a little bit, it appears. But Marilla, it takes you a second, and you're gazing, and you see that this cloud, and the men, you hear maybe like what sorcery is that from one of the men, right? And as it begins to take shape, you realize that it's not a cloud at all. And also you realize that it's moving towards you. And you can see that there are winged creatures with vaguely humanoid bodies in the darkness. They're basically just being illuminated by like the starlight and the yeah, exactly. By the starlight and the almost full moon that is out. And you can see their shadows kind of crossing over the light rays of the moon, right? And that's the only discernible feature that you can see of them, besides the fact that it's not a natural phenomenon. And also, they appear to be coming closer. What do you do?
I kind of calmly. Who is the knight that got me?
Probably Sir Brantley. He's a younger knight. He was on watch, obviously, and told to wake you up with anything suspicious.
Yeah. So I kind of just clear my throat. Brantley, I want all the knights to be mobilized. It seems we will have company soon.
Yeah, and you can see like his face kind of like pales, but he grits his teeth through it, and he says, "Your wish is my command, my lady." And he begins, and you told him quietly, right?
Yeah, calmly.
Yeah. So he begins to like, you see him walking through and like shaking the shoulders of men and like, briefly telling them like prepare to ride or prepare to battle or whatever. Like ready yourself, right? Is probably what he's using. And he goes through and he as more and more knights wake up, more and more start to get up, and you can see like there are people like strapping on armor, but there are people like also like readying their horse. It's a bit disorganized. Because nobody really knows what's going on. Everybody's being woken up in the middle of the night. As you continue to gaze, Farron, it's probably at this point slightly after that, right? Slightly after, like, Marilla alerts you that there's something wrong, and then, like, maybe you finally rub the rest of the sleep out of your eye, and you look, and, yeah, it's not a cloud. They are winged creatures with vaguely humanoid bodies that appear to be in flight, but in, like, a tight formation, heading towards you guys. Almost on a direct path from the forest. Do you do anything at that moment?
Could I roll a nature check to see what they are?
You absolutely can. It will have disadvantage just because they are at a distance and it is nighttime.
Yeah, I'm tempted to use my inspiration to cancel that.
That is up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of guaranteed to get another one.
Lols. That was a good one. I like that. Nice. 14. Yeah, so you probably run through the list of creatures that it could be, right? And the listing that you get, let me pull some names of some things. So they could be large birds that the humanoid portion of the figure is just kind of dulled by the sense, like, maybe the feet hanging off them are actually, like, birds. Like, griffins are an option, although probably not, because griffins are extinct. So that would probably be a harder sell. Something like a manticore, maybe, but it looks like maybe too many. It certainly could be, paratons. Paratons are like basically like large kind of flying deer, basically. flock looks maybe in that range. I mean, they could be dragons. They could be any number of things, but what you do know is they do appear to at least have some semblance of intelligence. They're not like just randomly flying around. They appear to know what they're about. Another again, I'm just cycling through my book to just pick out a bunch of things. Harpies are an option as well. Like, they could definitely be harpies with the humanoid bodies and, you know, the wings and stuff. Could be mephits. They're not Kirin. Could Kirin glow with their own light? They would be able to see them pretty easily. So yeah, it could.
Are they cool?
Could be a couple of different things. But whatever it is, you know, it is not probably a good thing. Is the other option. Like, if this is a hunting pack, they might look for some easy kills and some tasty war horses. Or they may be hunting you specifically, who knows?
So lots of bad juju.
Yeah. You know that it is bad. Whatever they are out of the options that I've given you, it is bad. Also, there appears to be a lot of them, right? Like, the men mistook it for a cloud before. Like, have you ever seen that that gif of when all the birds flock away from the tree and it's basically just a cloud? Yeah. Just imagine viewing that at night from a distance. It's kind of what you're dealing with here.
Sure. Yeah. My bow is definitely in my hands at this point.
Yeah, and I kind of see that, and I'm like, as much as I believe in your good eye, Farron, how many arrows do you have on hand?
This is a good question.
I have only got a packed quiver of 40, I'm afraid.
I have about 40 myself. So that means, between the both of us.
Well, 80 of these things are dead.
Yeah, she makes that joke that about 80 of these things are dead.
Yeah, totally.
How many do you think there are left?
Yeah, absolutely.
And she kind of looks at the men and she's like, I think.
Yeah, you could try and roll an investigation check to try and get a number. But investigation with wisdom. And the only reason why I'm saying investigation as opposed to perception is you've already spotted the thing. You need to figure out a good method of counting them. But you need to do it with wisdom, because you're looking in the moment instead of recalling upon information.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm the... You know?
Nice.
Da-da-da-da.
Nice, yeah. So you would estimate that there are probably... There's probably about between 150 and 250 creatures, individuals.
Okay.
A lot?
Yeah. Yes. I'd obviously relay that to Rella, and I guess we should start forming battle lines.
I think we should prepare for a retreat. Knights, and she kind of looks back. They're not meant for range combat, and these things will fly in the air.
Yeah, and that is I think like the scene that we see, and that's a good observation. I was actually going to say that probably only about half the knights even have ranged weapons.
Yeah, and you probably like seeing like most of the knights in front of them don't even have the ranged weapon. They just have their swords or spears, lances, or whatever they have.
Yep, swords, spears, lances.
And
they're definitely shock troops, right? They're not really designed for skirmishes and combat like that.
And she's like, so, what is the best option? Do we press forward and try to retreat into the city of Minenstag? or fall back to the army. Would Morella know like which one is closer?
You could probably estimate that you're about in between the two of them. It's all about, let me give you an example. They're coming from basically this direction towards you, right? So, if you went back, they have a better chance of intercepting you, but you have cover from being kind of in the wooded area, right? Like, you may have a bit of an advantage if you're in the wooded area and they're flying creatures. You have a better chance of outrunning them going this direction, but again, it's going to be hard-pressed, and if you're really trying to outrun them, you run the chance of gaining some exhaustion points for the army, and perhaps losing some horses or even some men to mishaps. And you will be more exposed. The other option is you could go north. You could try and just straight up outrun them directly away, and maybe get to Delbers, but it's a shorter distance than going to Middenstag, and in addition to that, you're running more directly away from them. So that's kind of, or again, you could try and get to the wood line and then fight if you wanted to. Again, it's up to you. It's whatever your mind can come up with.
Yeah. Morella kind of like, it seems like all these options are going through her head, and she's like, my fear is these are creatures not meant to necessarily kill or inflict wounds, but to scout, to gain information. If we were to retreat to the army, they wouldn't know the location of it. Farron, I say we go to Middenstag. We try to outrun these creatures, losing... And she kind of like sighs very heavily when she says that we may lose a few men, but they won't gain the knowledge that the army is moving if they are gathering information.
And we may even still be able to grab the supplies that's meant to get from Middenstag.
Yes.
Okay. So the plan is to horse up the men and make a dash for Middenstag. Try and outlast these creatures. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think that we see Morella like start giving that order, like, mount up, we ride to Middenstag, like we need to avoid this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we see that scene of you like running around and giving orders, and Farron's helping you, like helping maybe some of the slower knights like get up on their horses, and because obviously you guys are a bit lighter equipped than the knights. Most of them are in like actual plate armor, and like they have to spend 10 minutes putting it on, but with assistance it's 5, and then they have to saddle their horses if they weren't saddled already. Like you guys, you're kind of caught unawares, right? But luckily, this cloud of death or information gathering is far enough away that you have the time to do that, but this may come down to minutes later on, right?
Yeah.
So, middle of the night, we see Farron and Morella saddle up and begin their hard trot towards Middenstag. And then we do the zoom out on the map and then zoom in over on the rest of the army. Where we see Petrov, you're maybe like, up late at a desk writing or something, and we see Kree perhaps maybe resting, or maybe like checking on his men, right? Hannibal is perhaps sleeping or, kind of meditating.
No, I'm reading.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, that's perfect, yeah. Hannibal is reading by candlelight. We see the candlelight flickering. And Aelin, you're probably, maybe resting or sleeping at this time. It's, again, the middle of the night. And we see walking into your tent, is her name Maya? Hold on. Where's my stupid thing? Nope, that's not it. Yep, that's it. We see Kira and Malia, walk into your tent. Those are your spear maidens.
Yep.
And both of them, like, they kneel and give you a salute, and they say, Ambassador, there is something we think you should see. Something is off.
I sincerely hope you're speaking of food, he says as he gets up from his desk.
I think Malia kind of just gives a smile and shakes her head, and Kira, who is the halfling, right? She kind of gives like a stern look at Malia and says, "I certainly hope not." And gets up, and they walk you out, and they bring you to like a little hill that kind of crests over, and we can see the town of Middleweg down below. And you can see down there, there are like torches and lights moving back and forth. And Kira says, "Ambassador, the people are riled. There is too much light. We do not know what is up, or we do not know what is going on, but perhaps investigation is in order."
Yes, well spotted. And I think, he'll gesture for, he'll ask Kira to follow him, and who's the other one?
Malia.
I've got Malia.
Mm-hmm.
Who should Malia go get? Aelin.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so you say, Malia, go grab Aelin. And where do you want her to bring Aelin?
Down to the town, because that's where Kira and I are going to go to find out what's going on.
Sure, yeah. So the two of you kind of go off, and Malia nods, and so then we flash over. Aelin, you're resting, sleeping fitfully, I assume.
Yeah.
And
probably.
You're not woken up by anyone like waking you up. You're woken up by the sounds of kind of the hushed but raised voices. And like you roll around a couple of times and your eyes open. You can hear Daniela talking in kind of that, argumentative hushed voice. And she's like, "No. She is resting. Cannot be anything that important. Find someone else." And you just hear you can see Daniela's like head is poked out of the tent, but her body is in, and then whoever she's speaking to is muffled.
Yeah, I think Aelin would hear that, and she would sit up and kind of, brush the sleep from her face and just say, "Daniela, it's fine. What is it?"
Yeah, and I think she pokes her head in, just shakes her head, and she says, "Look what you've done now." And she pulls the tent flap back, and we see Malia, who's kind of like a bit red in the face, like not necessarily from embarrassment or anger, but just from like frustration, because like it's this moment of she was given an order and she can't complete it because of some stupid reason in her mind, right?
Is an equally strong-willed woman is telling her no.
Right? Yeah. They're two peas in a pod, right? And Malia comes in and she says, "Priestess, Master Petrov, he wishes to speak with you, or he wishes me to take you to the village Middleweg. There is something ongoing."
Yes, of course. Let me just get my things. And she just starts to get up, and she assumes it's medical, just because she always assumes it's medical. So she takes some of her supplies. But
you grab your supply bag and like put on a robe and like okay. And you can say Daniela is like strapping on her armor while you're doing all this. And like checking her sword or whatever. Because obviously she's gonna go with you, right?
Yes. Aelin knows better than to fight with her to say her to stay. So.
Yeah. And so the group of you, you get out and you begin to walk out, and you see like some of the guards as you're leaving. One of them probably stops you and then sees like the concurrent Malia and Daniela stern look, and like goes to stop you and then just shakes his head and then like pretends like he didn't see you at all, going to leave the encampment, right? And so as you guys get to the same hill where you could see the village, it's different now. It appears that the lights are brighter, and roll me a perception check, Aelin. We'll see what you can identify from this distance. Nice. So with your 21, you know, you like rub the sleep out of your eyes and you're like looking down, and yeah, it appears that there are the lights appear to be, you know, obviously they're torches or something that are crossing to and fro, but it's not like a normal pattern. It's not like, it doesn't look like people walking to and fro down and up and down the streets. And you can see like you pick out individual lights and follow them, and you can see like whatever it is running, right? It's not like moving at a rate where you would notice like, oh, just patrolling guards, like running up and down a street, going inside a building, running out of the building, going up and down a street. Yeah, there appears to be a lot of action involved with the movement of the lights.
See, this is why you brought me here.
Yeah, Malia says, I brought you here because Master Petrov wished me to.
I think Aelin just like points to the town and she's like, clearly something is wrong over there. Are we not going to go? Why are we just standing here?
And she nods and begins to pick her way through the brush and the trees down to the village. Daniela gives you like an uneasy look and follows after Malia. Which brings us over to Arkady. You've snuck up on the village, and just to see if you fumble it, roll me a stealth check, because I assume you are approaching quietly.
I don't know if he knows how to approach any other way.
Right, yeah. You are just naturally a quiet person. Yeah, 25 is pretty good.
Oh, by the way, I am a halfling, so I can't crit fail.
That's true. It's a good point. So you arrive at the edge of the village, and you actually see that the lights that are moving are not lights or torches at all. You see these figures, perhaps the size of a halfling or a child. And immediately you recognize them not to be natural. They kind of have this darkened, burned skin, and it's kind of cracked at various places around them. In fact, they probably look like goblins, is probably what they look like. Except if all the goblins' skin was burned black, and the cracks in the skin glowed this like kind of fiery, red-hot glow. And you can see there is a group of them, and this is probably like your first notice of it. There's a group of them that like shove a bunch of townsfolk towards the center of the town. Yeah, this is not at all what you expected.
I mean,
well, or maybe it is. I don't know.
In character, no. Out of character, yes.
Sure.
Is there any chance so I've never seen this kind of creature before?
Roll me an Arcana check.
Wow, okay, that was good.
A 16's not bad. So you know that there are in the realm of entities that are vaguely demonic or devilish or, you know, summoned or, you know, magic in general. You know that there are entities like this, certainly, created from elements, right? They come in various shapes and sizes and different forms and different functions. What these specifically are, probably not. But what you are able to gather is they do appear to be unnatural demon or devilish or summoned or familiars, but you start taking like a quick look at the number and you realize there are a lot of them here. You've probably seen, kind of going through the streets just yourself, you've probably seen somewhere around maybe 100 just kind of gathering up townsfolk and bringing them to like the central square.
Right. Okay. So with that count, he's going to send Kira back and tell her to raise as many troops as available to come save the town, because it's obviously under some kind of horrendous attack. while he personally is going to go on to see where they're dragging these people in for what purpose.
You're going to go scout, right? Sure. So, yeah, I think, like, Kira's face hardens as if she's going to argue, but then recognizes the intelligence of your statement, right? Like, instead of arguing with you that she needs to protect you, she's like, obviously I can't protect him from, these, 100 fire demons, so I might as well go get the other guys. And so she begins to take off at a very fast clip back towards the encampment, which is a little ways away.
Arkady obviously is going to start proceeding via rooftop / walls.
Yeah, and so you find an opening, and your 25 stealth holds, right, until you do something different. You get up on the... and as you kind of get into the heart of the village, you feel the temperature in the air is just maybe a degree or two warmer. And I think that as you're, like, walking across the path that one of these things took, you can see there's little almost singe marks in the grass where they're walking.
Okay, so they are just as molten as they look.
Yeah, almost as if their bodies are made of fire or, burning coal, perhaps, is a better example. And so you jump across a couple of rooftops. Roll me an investigation roll. Not great. So it's going to take you a while because there's a lot going on, and it's probably not so much that you're incapable of finding out what's going on. It's probably that you're playing it very cautiously, right? Like you're jumping from rooftop to rooftop, but like you have to wait for like a large contingent, and you also don't want to be seen by townsfolk who might like cry out to you, right? And so there's just a lot of activity that you're finding it very slow pace to get to wherever the central hub of this is. So when you arrive there, finally some time has passed, and we jump back to Aelin and Daniela and Malia. I was such a fool. Yeah, exactly. So we jump back to the three of you traveling through the bushes, and Malia like calls for halt and like to get down, and Daniela probably grabs you, Aelin, and like throws you, like kind of grabs you by the collar and like drags you down and like drops in like a crouch stance with a hand on her sword, right? And Malia makes like a bird call, like. And we hear a return with the same type of bird call, and we see kind of not out of breath but flushed from exertion. We see a Kira run up, and she begins rapidly to get out as much information as she can, and inform you of her mission, right? And Daniela probably like makes like the symbol of Shaya, or like actually she probably kisses her pendant, right? And yeah, it's clear that you may be needed shortly, but the three of you will probably not hold the tide for long here.
Yeah, I mean, Aelin's no tactician, but she can't take on 100 of them.
Yeah.
So I think that Aelin would, though, she would say to Daniela, the more of you there is spreading the word, the faster it will go. You should go with them. I will stay here just in case.
Ooh. Roll me a persuasion check.
Oh, I'm so bad at it.
Do it.
It's also hard.
I know.
I don't think a 10 is enough to sway Daniela, but she probably does look at... you say it to her, and she probably nods in understanding, and then she turns to Malia and says, Malia, you go with her. I'll stay and protect Aelin. And they both kind of like, the spear maidens look at each other, they nod, because they work as a team anyway, right? and they lope off through the brush. So, like, you tried to command her to do it, and she's like, yeah, I'll delegate that.
Aelin is unsurprised by this response.
Yeah. And she probably turns to look at you after they leave and says, we're not going any closer. You know that, right?
She just looks at her and she goes, if someone needs help, we are going closer. But yes, for now.
Yeah, and I think she says, everyone needs help at all times, but in this instance, I will tie you down to the ground.
He just stares at her. Like, you wouldn't dare.
Yeah, she might dare. She might dare.
Begins getting the rope out.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, after a few minutes of you searching around Arkady, you get to the central square where you see there's a huddled mass of villagers. And this town is fairly big. Middleweg is a fairly big village. Probably holds maybe 50 to 75 villagers. So it's like a medium-sized village. And men, women, children who all appear like beraggled and sleepy, and they're obviously woken up in the middle of the night, and people are obviously scared, and you can hear like crying. You can see there are a couple of people probably in like the central square area who are like bandaging, like tripping off like strips of cloth to like bandage their arms or whatever. It look like they might have burn marks. And then you see there's even more of these little tiny fire goblin creatures that are kind of like encircled around this area. And they appear to be like sitting and like almost communing with each other in a circle around these people. Doesn't look great, certainly. And you can see in the distance a shadowy figure kind of steps forward through the kind of smoke of the haze of all this like burnt grass and straw and regular torchlight kind of lighting the area. And this figure is tall, appears to have like a reddish hued skin. He's wearing like a cloth hood, and wrapped around his body are these massive chains. And you can see they kind of wrap around his body a few times, and then around his shoulders, and then down to his arms. And we can see hanging from like his forearms are these big, almost meat hook type devices. And there's two on each side, right? There's 4 total like meat hooks. And as he kind of steps, we can hear like the jangle of the chains as they move around, and kind of a hush falls over the people. And he like walks up and he's surveying them. He kind of approaches one and walks around, and you just hear the ching, 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 ching as he's walking around. And he turns and gives some order. What languages do you know, Arkady?
Common, halfling, elvish, dwarvish, giant, and roguish cipher.
Yeah. So he says it in a language that you don't know, and
I bet I do.
Yeah, I bet somebody does. And you can see the little fire goblin things. They kind of nod their head, and they begin going off. And the big guy with the chains kind of walks off into the haze. And you can see a couple of these goblin dudes go into the houses surrounding. And you can see maybe even a couple of them come into the house underneath you. And then we hear this like this kind of build up, this like inhalation of air, and then we hear a and the houses that these creatures had gone into becomes a bonfire. And we hear this popping and crackling noise as the interiors of these homes and houses and buildings alights with flame almost instantly.
How many of the houses?
Basically the ones like immediately surrounding the square.
Okay.
So you probably have to like back up, jump on
Yeah.
a different roof just so you're safe, but the fire unchecked will obviously spread, and these creatures don't appear to care about that too much.
No. Well, when you're made of fire, I imagine not.
Yeah.
And so, can I... sorry, amongst all that, could I see where they were dragging the people?
The people are basically in like a central square area, right?
And they're just being held there by threat of fire?
Yeah, and now basically all the houses that are surrounding them are on fire, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And where did terrifying meat hook guy go?
Probably on the opposite side of the square. He kind of walked off into the haze after he gave that order to do the thing, right? He kind of probably walked off, but you can like go try and track him down for sure.
Yeah, Arcady will parkour from rooftop to rooftop as fast as possible to get to him.
Yeah.
Because I think the fastest way of adding some chaos to this chaos is going to be putting an arrow in him.
Sure. Yeah. So in your searching for him, Aelin and Daniela, you guys are waiting, and you see for a moment, like the fire, the torches moving around and whatever, and you know there's these fire goblins there, right? Because Kira would have mentioned that. And then again, you look, and it appears one of the homes maybe catches, and you can see like the kind of, if you've ever seen like light on the horizon, if you've ever been like at night somewhere and you can see like the light just kind of building up, you guys begin to see that, and it's obviously more than just like torches or anything like that. And so Danielle probably goes and like looks up and looks around a tree, or maybe she climbs a tree, right? And she like looks out, and she probably comes back down and she says, well, if they weren't aware up the hill yet, they will be shortly. It appears they're burning the village.
Yeah, Aelin makes this, crosses the X over her heart like she does.
Yeah.
And then I think Aelin is... So how close is this river exactly? I know, like, on the map it looks like
a ways away. Like, it's probably, like, it's probably a decent hike, maybe, like, 10-minute hike over to the river from the village.
10 minutes, huh? Okay. I think that Aelin might use her divine intervention to ask her goddess to make it rain.
So, you're going to utilize your class feature.
Correct.
To attempt to make it rain.
You're totally broken one.
So,
Get advantage.
So appeal to Shalia in this moment.
Inspiration.
How would you appeal to her in this moment?
I think that Aelin would drop to her knees and put her hands together in prayer. And I think that she would say that